Hello, sword people. Welcome to the Sword Guy podcast. This is your host, Dr. Guy Windsor, consulting swordsman, teacher, and writer. Join me for interviews with historical martial arts instructors and experts from a wide range of related disciplines as we discuss swords, history, training, and bringing the joy of historical martial arts into our modern lives. I hope you enjoy this greatest hit episode of the show. You can find all the episodes at swordschool.com/podcast, and there's a direct link in the description to this episode's show notes. On with the show. I'm here today with Eleonora Rebecchi, who is the creative director at Malleus Martialis, producer of excellent training swords, as well as a practicing historical fencer and a graphic artist who has done some lovely covers for me. So, without further ado, Eleonora, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here today. Hi, Guy.
Hello. It's nice to see you again. Whereabouts are you?
Yeah, for me too.
Whereabouts are you?
Right now, I'm in Italy, Florence, and but I'm not Florentine though. My hometown is Mantua in Lombardy. I moved 10 years ago in Florence, and after some years, I joined Malleus Martialis. This is my story, the whole story.
Okay. Yeah, because I met you in Florence. Oh, by the way, saying you just live in Florence has made probably 90% of the people listening want to kill you because they're just too jealous. We met in Florence in like 2015. I don't think I've seen you in person since then. But just for people listening, what is it actually like living in Florence?
Well, it's kind of difficult if you live near the city center. I lived there about 10 minutes from the center when I moved, and I lived there for 10 years, 9 more or less, because then I moved to Impruneta. And there are, as you know, many tourists and
Yes.
a lot of events, a lot of situations for the movida, for the nightlife.
Yeah.
So it's a city, and I really loved the fact that I was near those huge and wonderful works of art, because living in Florence means you have many things to see every day.
Yeah.
But if you are working hard, as I did in the last 10 years, you have to organize well your time to enjoy the city properly.
So you're not living in the same place that you were when I met you in 2015. You've moved.
Exactly.
So you've moved out to Impruneta.
Absolutely.
I can see how that might help you get more work done. Because Florence is a very distracting place.
Yeah. But Impruneta is beautiful because you are on the hills, on the Chianti Hills. Mm-hmm. So there are a lot of wineries, there are a lot of places where to relax and take some time to also slow down. Because for me, work is a huge part of my life. And I really, really need to slow down and chill and meditate.
Right. Okay.
I am a very calm person, or I try to be a very calm person.
Okay, so is it true that you can actually sing?
Yes, it is. I devoted the most part of my previous life, because it sounds is exactly like this, to study singing and classical singing. When I was a child, I was enchanted by Disney songs, and I knew lots of them by heart. So when I was 10, I went to my parents and said, when I'm a grown up, I will be a famous singer. Life brought me somewhere else. And even if it wasn't an easy decision, I know I did the right thing in the end.
So you actually trained professionally?
Yes.
Okay. Would you like to sing a little bit?
I knew that.
I mean, I'm here for the listeners, right? It's my job to give the listeners absolutely the best experience they can get. So would you could sing a couple of notes if you like, or we can cut this bit out if you say no.
No, that's okay. Right now, there's a live action that's coming, and I really like, and I really fond of it. That's The Little Mermaid.
Okay, all right.
I know the Italian version, but I will try to.
Go on then.
Guardate un po', quello che ho è una raccolta preziosa, lo so. Vi sembrerà che io sia una che ha tutto ormai. Che tesori, che ricchezze, chi mai al mondo ne ha quanto me. Se guardi intorno dirai.
Bloody hell. So you can actually sing.
But also, we have Ursula.
Io la gioia darò a chi vorrà. C'è chi vuole dimagrire, chi soffre per amore con me guarirà.
Well, that was fantastic.
Thank you.
I just hope that my sound editing skills are up to the task of making that sound as good on the recording as it should do. That was brilliant. All right. So you were heading towards being a professional singer. So what stopped you? What made you change your mind?
I think that mostly money and wrong decisions during the path led me to stop with it. Because I really wanted to make a classical singing career. I wanted to sing in the theaters and making auditions and so on. But this took a lot of resources from a money point of view, from a financial point of view. And I wasn't that wealthy to afford all the process. Also, I really liked to teach and to share my knowledge about classical singing. And that was another thing that I could have developed through the years. But in the end, I said to myself, if I can't do this properly and as it was meant to be, I won't make it. That's right. the deal, you know. It was so precious and so important to me that I wouldn't want to make it not properly as I wished.
Right. Yeah, I think if I couldn't do swords for a living, I'd probably stop them altogether for the same reason. Like, I'm 100% or nothing.
Yeah, exactly. There were many tears at the time.
So there was like one particular day when you said, right, no, I quit. Boom.
Yes, and I never sang again from that moment on.
Well, you just did.
Yes, with friends or when I shower. But
not on stage.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, that must be pretty hard.
But historical martial arts came in that period of my life.
Okay, so you traded singing for the sword.
Yeah, okay. Exactly.
Well, if you had ever heard me sing, you would beg me to trade singing for swords.
I don't think so. Everyone can sing. You only need some practice.
You know, in theory, I believe that every skill can be learned.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But I don't think the world will be better off with me singing in it, to be honest.
We can sing together one day.
Okay.
Let me judge.
In Italy, with enough wine, let's do it. Absolutely.
Great,
Yes, why not?
great deal.
But no recordings. No recordings.
No. I promise.
Okay, so how did you get into historical martial arts?
It was the dark period when
Right.
I was deciding what to do. I graduated in 2011 at the Academy of Fine Arts in Bologna, and after that I was forced to come home again in Mantua. That wasn't positive for me. I wasn't happy, but I needed to build a new life in my hometown, so I joined the reenactment group to practice historical fencing.
Okay.
I was fascinated by the history behind the sport and the harmony of this discipline. That's
Okay.
why.
So, but it's a long way from doing historical martial arts with a reenactment group in Mantua to running a sword making business in Florence. So, what were the gaps?
The gaps are that I met Rodolfo. 1 year later, I joined this reenactment group and started to practice historical fencing at a reenactment event in Italy.
And just for the listeners, this is Rodolfo Tanara, who makes most
Yes.
of the swords at Malleus Martialis.
Exactly, the sword
Okay.
maker.
Right.
And we met at this event, and we decided to I don't know. It's not. We didn't engage in the first place, but now we are engaged. After 10 years, yes, we can say so. And that was his dream, because he always wanted to make swords for a living. He was a doctor. He studied to be a doctor before. And when I saw the project, I knew he needed a sidekick to help
Right.
him in the everyday papers, design, promotion of the products, and so on. And in a way, I was the right person at the right time. So this is the situation. We liked each other almost immediately, and after some years, I said to him, "You need me, take me." Yes.
Okay, so that's how Malleus Martialis started as a business.
Yes.
But Rodolfo had been making swords before that.
Yeah, he was
Okay.
making swords in his free time, and he was studying to make them, also by learning from blacksmiths and so on, and from books, of course. But in the end, he decided to open the company, and it was quite challenging.
Was that 2015? That was
2014, yes.
2014.
At the end of
I think you
20
just started when you had just started as a company when I met you in like February 2015.
Yeah.
And we went and visited the workshop where stuff was being made. And let me be frank. At the time, I thought, well, yeah, this is okay. I had no idea that you would start producing such gorgeous swords. I mean, it wasn't obvious from where things were at the beginning of 2015 that you would ever be producing swords the way they look now.
It wasn't.
I don't know what happened. Like obviously Rodolfo learned his craft, but I think probably the sword design is part of what changed also.
Yes.
Is that fair?
I think that the real reason why we improved through the years is surely that we joined our forces and our skills, but that we were able to learn from our errors, because we did a lot of errors.
Of course.
And it was like opening a company without any idea about what a business is.
I was the same. Yes. I mean, why?
Let's do it.
just do it. Just do it, and you'll learn how to do it as it goes. That was my approach, and it worked. So worked for me, worked for you.
Exactly. But yes, surely the communication between us and the joining of design and craftsmanship were developing together and improving together. Was something really important to make the swords we are making now.
Okay, so what do you think makes a good sword?
I think that when aesthetics meets proper dynamics and ergonomics, you have a good sword.
Okay. So aesthetics, dynamics, ergonomics.
Yes.
All right. So those are three kind of technical terms, and I think I understand what you mean, but I'm guessing that some of the listeners might not, and I may be completely wrong too. So aesthetics, what the sword looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Ergonomics is how it handles. So what is dynamics?
The ergonomics is also how it is in your hand, because many times the grips and the part you actually handle is not taken seriously. You know?
I know. Okay, I just posted a video where I took this cheap training rapier, and the one thing I had to do to make it work well as a sword was fix the handle.
Yeah.
That's all it needed. But the handles that generally come on swords are, for want of a better word, shit.
Exactly.
Right. They're not designed as an interface between the blade and the body. They're designed as a piece of wood that you can wrap your fingers around so you don't drop the sword. And that's not what the handle is for.
Yeah, also because depending on the main characteristic of the sword, like for example, you have a sword that mainly thrusts, or you have a sword that mainly cuts, then the grips are different. The shape of them are different.
But they're different in a way that you can see, and I can certainly feel, but it isn't obvious to, I mean, I don't think most people who aren't sword people, I mean, anyone can tell the difference between a longsword and a rapier just by looking at it and go, oh yeah, the one with the fancy bits around the handle, that's the rapier, right? But these sorts of differences we're talking about are matters of nuance and degree, I would say.
Yeah.
So how would you describe the difference then between a primarily cutting handle and a primarily thrusting handle?
In my experience, it's about the position of the end and on the grip, and the shape that derives from it. If you have to cut, you will have a very precise alignment of the arm, and the sword will have a more flattened grip.
Okay.
Whereas if you have to trust and if you have to go in circles with your hand and with your sword, a more rounded shape of grip is recommended. Of course, every sword has a different kind of grip, and I'm really trying to make a summary of these concepts, you know.
Well, I mean, like for my rapiers, they tend to have like a flattened octagonal section.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas my longswords tend to have a kind of slim oval cross section.
Yeah. But it's also about the thickness of the grip, and of course it also depends on the length and on the weight and on the techniques you have to apply.
Yeah.
For example, a small sword, we go to very different swords. The small sword will have a very oval and rounded grip in the front profile of the grip. Okay, while
but it's very slim and very short.
Yeah, exactly. While a longsword will be if you have to cut and thrust, because longsword is kind of
does everything.
Yes, exactly.
It's a Swiss Army knife, really.
Yes, it will be something in the middle. That's why I said that I was trying to give a very short summary of the concept, because it's very huge.
well, here's a thought for you. An axe handle, I mean, pretty much everyone knows what that looks like. It's sort of very flat and quite wide but slim.
Yeah.
So if the axe is in your hand, it's quite wide from wrist to finger, but it's quite slim from palm up, right?
Yeah.
Which gives you perfect edge alignment when you're chopping down a tree.
Exactly.
Whereas a spear tends to have a round section.
Exactly.
Although spear handles that are made in the traditional way with coppiced poles are slightly oval.
Yeah, and
right, so you can feel your edge. Yeah, and octagonal.
Yeah.
So you do get your edge alignment. These modern machine-produced spear poles, they don't give you that edge alignment, which is a little bit annoying for me because I'm a bit of a purist.
Exactly.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, so that's ergonomics. What about dynamics?
Dynamics is how the sword moves. It's
Okay. This is sorry to interrupt you, but my new longsword, the thing I don't understand about it is it's light, and it has that kind of light, accurate, precise feel to it, but it still hits like a motherfucker. Right? And it's like it should be, if it can hit like that, it shouldn't quite handle like that. It's a little bit like having kind of Ferrari agility, but tractor-like torque.
There's a reason why.
Yeah, tell me. Because I don't get it.
The reason is about the dynamic properties related to the shape of the sword.
Okay.
That particular sword is a longsword based on German findings.
I'll put a picture in the show notes so people can see it.
Yeah.
I'll also put the unboxing video so people can see me handling it, and then they maybe will understand, because when I was handling it, I had that, huh? How the fuck can it do that moment? Right, so I'll put a link to that video in the show notes as well. But okay, sorry, carry on.
And the shape of the blade is really the change maker.
Right.
Because it is narrow, but at the same time it has parallel edges. This gives you presence in the bind more than a two.
So I just wanted to get it off the rack. So it is quite from the handle to about 2/3, 3/4 of the way down the blade.
Exactly.
It's the edges are almost parallel.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
And
they're not strictly parallel, but they're only tapering very slightly.
Exactly. Okay. Exactly. If you compare it to an estoc with a triangular shape of blade, then you will have a lot of presence in the last third and less presence from the middle to the end. And that's because of the shape and the anatomy of the blade. So the miracle is made by, of course, the tapering, of course, the various parts, but in this case, from the shape of the blade.
Okay. Right, and I mean, I imagine there's some sort of trade secrets in exactly how that's accomplished.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. But anyone who comes to my house is welcome to have a look at my sword, so they could maybe figure it out from that. But okay, so do you actually design all of that yourself?
Yes.
Okay, I make stuff, right? And when I'm making, for example, a chest of drawers or something, I'll have like the external measurements of where it needs to fit. And so maybe it's this wide, this deep, this high. And maybe I know I want this many drawers. And then I just go into my workshop and just make it. Right? I don't measure anything other than the external measurements. Right? Everything else is taken sort of from itself. So like the thickness of the wood, it may turn out a bit thick or it may turn out a bit thin. It doesn't matter. I don't get it to a particular thickness. I make it look right and feel right and just sort of do it all sort of in the process. Okay. Whereas I think you're actually designing things, you're thinking it out clearly in your head first, and then giving Rodolfo pretty specific dimensions and things. So here, go make this precisely. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Right.
The real value that Rodolfo brings after the design is that I always give him approximate information about the blade. Because yes, he has the design, he has the shape, he knows that the blade has to behave in a way that I figured out in the beginning when I started to design it and accomplished it. But he knows how to make it work. When we join, this is our great strength. It's about the fact that we learned and now we are able to communicate, and that is something that I want to highlight, because I already tell about this some minutes ago, but this is the secret of the trade is communication.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And yeah, I have friends who are swordsmiths, and there's absolutely nothing worse than a customer sending a design to a smith who actually hits things with hammers, right? And the design is like to 1/10 of a millimeter in every dimension, because there's just no scope there for the smith to actually apply their art, right? It's like treating the smith like a CNC machine, right?
Yeah.
So, but on the other hand, you have to give just enough information that the smith knows what you want, and then they can apply their skill and experience to actually producing it.
Luckily, I don't think I have ever accepted a work in this way. I never had a customer who sent, or if there was someone, I said no.
Right, exactly.
Because luckily I can choose to enjoy my work. And this is something that I always like, sharing experiences and sharing impressions with the customers. And also, if they send me a sketch, if they send some preferences, it's something that I really love, because we communicate again.
Right. Yeah. Although I think when I order custom stuff, like the last time I ordered a custom bullwhip, for example, I said I need it an 8-foot whip, which has like, so that the lash is 8 foot, and then you've got the fall and the cracker, which adds to that. So total reach is maybe 12, 13 feet. And then I said, okay, so I need an 8-foot bullwhip, right? Make me the 8-foot bullwhip that you don't want to let out of your shop because you want to keep it for yourself. Right? And that was because the guy I was ordering it from, a guy called Alex Jacob, he knows vastly more about bullwhips than I will ever know, and he is an amazing sort of whip cracker and expert in that area. And there's just no way I'm going to know more about what will make a good whip than he does. So I needed an 8-footer. I said, Alex, make me an 8-foot bullwhip. Make me the one that you don't want to let out of your shop because you want to keep it. And sometime later, I got this absolutely glorious thing. It's so precise. It's as loud as a 44 Magnum going off, and it is just a brilliant thing. I wouldn't have known exactly what to ask for. So I think that's a good approach to getting your makers to make stuff. But if you're the designer, you need to be a bit more precise from that.
Yeah, I have. And that's why the work behind is really detailed. When I have, even if I have to choose how long the grip has to be, how long the cross guard, or for example, even how wide the blade has to be, all these little tiny aspects that maybe someone can simply take an original and say, okay, I have the original, I will do it exactly the same, or more or less exactly the same. I will think about it, because first, it's very difficult for us to approach museums. Still, we have some very good relationships with some museums in Europe, but they are few, and I don't have so many available data every time I need it. I collect as much as I can, as much data as I can, but when I have to design, for example, a sport piece or a collectible piece, the processes are completely different, and the thinking behind is completely different. Even when I have to deal with an original reproduction of an original, the deal for me is that I can't make sharp swords. Malleus Martialis can't make sharp swords.
That's right, because the law in Italy is really fucked up about that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's weird.
We don't produce them because we don't have the authorizations required to do that, and it would be a great investment for the also the company in general. Because we should have security systems and serial numbers.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, and we would have to take an exam, and maybe one day we will do it.
I've got a better idea. Just move to France or Germany or Britain or Finland or Sweden or any other country except Italy, and then you can make whatever the hell you like without any restrictions at all, and so long as it doesn't actually explode, nobody cares. It's just Italy that has these really screwed up sword laws.
Yeah, and And that's why I have to design. So yeah.
I just had an idea.
Yeah.
Okay, you design these amazing swords, right? And Rodolfo makes these amazing swords in Italy. And in Italy, you can only make... And I don't think you actually want to move to France, right?
Yeah.
That's... Okay. All right. But have you thought about getting your swords made, getting sharp swords made outside of Italy, right? And as long as they're not being brought into Italy, so you're selling it to your customers, like your customers in England, for an example, right? You could get swords made to your specifications outside. Is that possible?
This is something that I thought, but it's difficult because sharpening a sword requires knowledge,
Sure.
So, for example, if a customer says to me, listen, I would like to have that sword, and then I will sharpen it, and I say yes, absolutely. If I have to give this work to another smith, for example, outside Italy, the smith has to be available to do business with me.
Yeah, sure. It's complicated.
Yeah, there are some issues.
The reason I thought of it is that a friend of mine who does custom work, knives and swords, unbelievably beautiful knives and swords, he also designs knives for his cousin who runs a weapons shop, and they get those knives made in, I think, Pakistan. And they're really good. They're really good. And they make loads of money.
Yeah.
just a thought.
I will think about it.
Okay, because you have all this fantastic intellectual property, right? These designs that you've made.
Yeah.
Right, which are your intellectual property. There should be ways of, making it.
About that, I had some issues about intellectual property recently. I can't explain it in detail because it involves another producer.
Okay.
But
let me guess. Did somebody borrow one of your designs?
Yes.
Motherfucker. You can name them and shame them here if you like.
No, absolutely.
But okay.
Even if we cut, I won't do it.
No, fair enough.
Also because they were available to understand that there was an error and to put down the material from their channels. So we
okay. They behave reasonably.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
very
fine.
kind,
okay.
Very kind and reasonable.
Then perhaps maybe they should just license some designs from you. Why
yes, why not?
I mean that because that way, if sword makers are looking for these designs, licensing a design from you saves them a ton of time, and then also. It provides a small income stream into the company that doesn't involve you actually having to get out of bed in the morning. And Rodolfo can, have a day off and the company still makes a bit of money.
It could be. It could be. It's a nice idea. And about the intellectual property, there's an issue that the intellectual property can be registered if the property is innovative and there is new and something that has never been seen before, because it is industrial property. It's not like an artistic property, okay? Because we have a company. Yeah.
So you can't license it as under artistic copyright. You have to license it under like a trademark or a patent.
Yes. Exactly.
Well, hang on though. Companies that produce art professionally, they can, and books, for example, they get artistic copyright on their stuff. So just the fact that you're a company shouldn't make any difference. So you could certainly get, I mean, your designs are, if I understand international copyright law even a little bit, your designs are copyrighted to you pretty much automatically. It's just, it can be difficult to prove that this sword that you've designed has now then been copied by somebody else, because swords basically look the same.
Yeah.
To a non-specialist.
Yeah, and also they are based on original, already invented artifacts. You know? True.
Yeah, well, we sort of stumbled into the whole business side of things. So, what is it actually like running a sword business?
It's kind of tough.
I bet.
Yes. Because as I said before, when we started, we really didn't know anything about business and instruments and tools and so on. Why opening a company if you don't know how to do business? Well, when you're young and enthusiastic, you take foolish choices.
Yeah, like moving to Helsinki and opening a sword fighting school when you have no qualifications whatsoever. For instance, and that seemed to work out all right. So
yeah. In fact, there's a famous aphorism among the start-uppers that's fake it until you make it.
That's right.
So it works. We survived for the first years, learning for important things: to be cautious, to be bold, to be quick, and to be strong. They are following the Fiore.
For non-Fiore listeners, those are Fiore's 4 virtues that a swordsman should have. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
To be cautious and bold, and swift and strong. Okay. That is fascinating. I have actually written a piece on how Fiore's 4 virtues apply to business. I've never published it, but it's there on my hard drive. I haven't quite figured out why I would publish it. But okay, so tell me, when you say strong, what do you mean?
Stable and extremely tough against issues and everyday difficulties, because
it's like determination then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. Constance and determination, always.
Okay. Caution?
Caution requires discipline and also wisdom, because when you approach business, you have to understand which is the right direction, where to invest your money, where people has to improve their skills, and time is money. So when you improve something and you invest your time, you are also spending your money. Right. And then also choosing the right materials, the right machines. For example, some years ago, I decided that I wanted a little CNC machine to practice.
A little what?
CNC machine.
Oh, CNC machine, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, to practice, to learn. Also to make little things, because it was something like this. I can show you in a screen like this, like the camera one. And it was a very silly expense, and I realized it only after a couple of months, and right. The CNC machine was already purchased. For example, this is an example, of course, but it is really important to understand that when you deal with money and you don't know how to use your money right, maybe you make a lot of products, maybe you make a lot of expenses, you buy a lot of machines, and in the end you really need less.
Yeah. Okay. So what about speed?
Speed is about understanding the right timing, understanding when you have to make the next step. And it's exactly like in fencing.
Okay.
Because
but I mean, I assume it would also include things like making swords faster so that you can make more of them.
yeah,
So that's a kind of obvious
yeah.
application of the idea.
But of course, being quick in your job comes with time, because you practice
Sure.
and practice and practice. And then right now, for example, being a very small business as we are able to make around 70 swords, 60, 70 swords every 1 month and a half.
Wow, that's pretty quick.
Yeah. And
That's a lot more than I expected.
Yeah.
Good.
And,
That's excellent.
and it's really, really difficult to always keep the rhythm in the right way, because sometimes there are issues. Sometimes some partners and suppliers don't act as they should, or they are late. So the whole managing plus being able to stay on time, it is something really important. Of course, organization is about also being quick.
Right. I didn't realize that you were that productive, that you were able to produce what effectively like a sword and a half a day.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
By hand.
For a small business making swords, that is a lot.
Yeah.
Wow, I am very impressed. Excellent. Okay, so that's speed. What about boldness?
Boldness.
Just buy the CNC machine, goddammit. Buy a bigger one.
Exactly. Exactly. Boldness is about a lot of aspects in the business. I was always, and Rodolfo too, we were always not bold enough in presenting our product, in presenting our skills, because we are always we always feel in debt. We always feel we are not enough, and we know that we don't have to. We absolutely know that.
But imposter syndrome is real.
Yeah, it is. But if we learn to be a little more bold through time, and also to make sometimes bold and difficult choices, also dealing with the employees, dealing with customers and partners, I think that boldness is a virtue that really helps.
Yeah, and from in my experience, where it counts the most is firing bad customers. Right? Like when somebody is just annoying, then refund them all their money and tell them to go away.
I
right?
did it.
I bet you have. And it is, but it's so difficult to do, because it's like you need customers, otherwise your business is going to fail. But if you're spending all of your time with customers who are just, and okay, it's been my experience, particularly if I run a crowdfunding campaign, that people who put in a big chunk of money are always absolute lambs to deal with, right?
Yeah.
No problem. Things are a bit late, they're fine. Things are, you have trouble and you send out an email saying, sorry about this, that and the other, but I'm working on this, they're fine with it. Someone who's put in like €5 or €10 or something,
yeah,
they're the ones who are going to email you saying and in poke and could we do this and could I do that and it's like so that's why the last time I ran a crowdfunding campaign, I didn't have any of the tiers below about €20 because in my experience, while yes, it's nice for people who want to support the project to be able to chuck in a few euros, that's a nice thing in both directions.
Yeah,
it opens the door to the people who are just going to be a giant pain. So it's better just to keep that door shut.
I completely understand. And I also think that maybe, yes, sometimes people is really interested in our projects and want to participate in a very long conversation. But also sometimes maybe I am not able to make them happy. Maybe I'm not understanding properly what they are saying or what they are asking. And that's why, for example, from last year, I started to ask for a deposit for the design. Yeah. Because in the beginning it was, yes, I would like this, and I sketched it. So even 15 minutes of my life to sketch it were lost if the customer in the end didn't decide to go on,
Right, sure.
So it's also about, I think, rules and I don't know, a code between the customer and the producer.
Yeah, I just had another idea.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, because I've organized my business side of things to emphasize scalable products that can be sold automatically, right? Online courses, books, that kind of thing. All right. But I just had an idea, right? Your designs, see, I've not actually seen what your design looks like when you draw it out and stuff. Okay. Mm-hmm. But how hard would it be to make a poster with a photograph of the finished sword and the designs and sketches next to it as a kind of, this is like the architecture of your sword, right? Which could be like an add-on. So like, you buy a sword, it's what, €500 or €600 or whatever. And for another like €20, you can get a poster of your sword with like the actual dimensions and stuff, and you can stick it on your wall. Wouldn't that be cool? And then people could just buy the poster. And these things can be printed on demand. And you have that, and that way, if they put it up on their wall, they're literally paying you to hang an advert for your company on their wall, in their salon.
Absolutely. This is a very good idea.
Yeah? Okay.
Recently, several people asked me to make some merchandising. So posters or even shirts or I don't know, mugs. I love mugs. I have a collection of mugs. Would be really, really nice with designs and of course logo or art stuff on it.
Have a merch shop, but I'm thinking because okay, your graphic design work is gorgeous. I saw that poster you did for my friend Chris Vanslandbroek's seminar when he came to Italy in 2015.
Yeah.
And it was just like, fuck, that's just a work. It's the only seminar poster I've ever seen that is just a work of art in its own right that you just hang on a wall. Right? It was amazing. That's why I got you to do those covers for me.
The covers, yes.
Right? Because
thank you.
So you have that skill.
Yeah, make it work. Make it
work. And you're putting so much work into the designs themselves that I'm sure you could create something that is just gorgeous, that has like the design stuff, the sketches and measurements and things, and a drawing maybe of the sword and maybe a photo of the finished sword or something like that, and then Malleus Martialis and maybe some other things, whatever. Right, I'm not a graphic designer. I don't know shit about such things. I hire people like you to do that for me, right? But I mean, it would be beautiful sword art that people can buy while you're asleep.
Yeah.
And somebody else prints it, posts it, and then sends you the money.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
I really understand what you're saying. And in this regard, beyond working on the merchandising as soon as I can, we are still designing our way to scale the business in the future, because right now we are at our maximum capacity of production.
Right.
You know.
Sure. I think that is a lot of swords. So how many staff do you have?
We are Rodolfo, Fabio, and Simone in the smithy. 3.
Yeah. That's 3 guys. Okay.
But Simone is hybrid because it stays between the smithy and the office.
Okay.
And in the office there is Sergio in a part-time that helps me in managing customers from this January.
Yeah, I've had emails from Sergio telling me my sword is going to be ready or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we are 5.
Okay. Yeah, that's not a lot of people to produce that many swords.
Yeah.
Particularly when 2 of them aren't smiths.
And so I am studying a way to grow, and I really look forward to this Malleus 2.0 in the future.
I had another idea. Another product idea. Something that would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
This might be video, or it might be a series of images. It might even be a book of how the sword goes from an idea in your head to a sword in somebody's hand. That's a process involving research and design and experimentation and sketches and all that sort of stuff, and then selecting the steel and making it and making the handle and stitching the leather and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
That by itself, there's lots of ways to make that process into a product that can scale. Like obvious being books, video, posters, even a video course if someone is interested in actually maybe an online course on how to design a sword, for instance. Right? That can scale.
Yes, absolutely. We will have to find the best way to scale. We are still working on it, and these ideas are all really good.
Well, I've been trying to make a living doing this for a long time, so okay, if you use any of my ideas and make a metric fuck ton of money, I will happily accept a free sword as a little thank you. That would be fine.
Absolutely. When I will be able to, for example, organize giveaways or auctions, but in a very free way, I will always remember you, and I will send you a sword.
Excellent. Okay, so we talked quite a lot about sword design. So, what do you think of Peter Johnson's theory about geometric sword design, which, if I just summarize it briefly for listeners who may not have heard of it, Peter had this idea that, which I think is probably right, that the way swords were designed were entirely proportional rather than being strict measurements. They were like you have a straight line and you have a series of circles on those lines, on that line which intersect. And there are all sorts of ways of creating reproducible, scalable designs that way that are based on something intrinsic to the future owner. I met him at Helsinki Knife Fair years and years ago. It must be like 2011 or something. And he told me this theory, and that made me think about Vadi, and that's what actually triggered me actually translating Vadi. Because Vadi mentions geometry in his thing. So that's how I ended up doing a translation of Vadi, is because of that conversation about that design idea. And it also got me into geometry. So like sketching stuff with just a ruler and a pair of compasses or dividers, and you can make all sorts of patterns that way, which are just super fun. So I don't have an opinion about how historically accurate his theories are, but what do you think?
First, I think that the theory is amazing. And it's a very fine method for the reconstruction of ancient swords and related reproductions. Though I don't use it for every sword I design. Even our ancestors didn't use it for every sword. Of course, it's a theory, so we really don't know if they used something like that. But we can approximately tell that if architecture was designed after some rules and art followed those rules, even sword design could follow proportions and golden ratio rules and so on. And some swords, some original swords, after also Peter Johnson's studies, don't follow necessarily those rules every time. And for me, it's the same. If I have to make a design for a high-end and specific commission, I can use it. Otherwise, I will take several examples of the original swords and the average stats to design the models. I won't go every time with the golden ratio design.
Okay, that makes sense. And I think it's almost certain, it's as certain as we can reasonably be, that some smiths or sword designers at some point in medieval Europe will have used these sorts of methods, because that's how people drew stuff.
Yeah.
Right? It certainly wouldn't be every smith every time. And I think sometimes it wouldn't be nearly so complicated, because once you're making things with your hands, after a while, once you've got the gross dimensions, you won't carefully trace out this curve on the pommel so that it matches this curve on the crossguard, according to this particular geometrical regime. You'll just do it by eye, and it will look perfect if you're a really experienced maker.
Yeah.
So I think.
But for example, even the blacksmith who has to make a gate, I don't know, for a house. Right. Okay. He uses patterns. He uses also repeated measures to create the whole design and to fit the gate into the house.
Right.
So I think it's the same process for the swordmaker, and especially maybe not for serial production. So I don't think I use a very different process in comparison with our ancestors, because the serial production doesn't follow every time a redesign, and the design is made one time. It works, the proportion works, and so everything can be produced. And if you, on the other hand, if you have to deal with that sword for that nobleman or that guy who wants something very special for him, then you go with something more special as well.
So do you design on paper or do you do it on a computer?
I do it on a computer.
Okay, that's definitely not medieval.
No, absolutely not. I use
it's funny because I've tried. Yeah, I've tried, and for woodwork, there's CAD software called SketchUp, which is it's cheap and it's very good and whatever. And I just can't get on with it. When I'm designing something that I'm going to make, I use a pencil and a piece of paper and sometimes a ruler and occasionally a compass, but that's it. I just can't. I can't do it on the computer.
The first sketches. When I have to understand what pommel, what guard, what blade, the first sketches are made on paper because I need paper to think. But when I have to develop the entire design, I go on the CAD software. Absolutely.
That makes sense. Yeah, it's like I'll often plan a book with a pen and notebook, but I'll actually write it out into the computer because I'm too lazy to write it out by hand and then type it up.
Exactly.
Okay, so what is your favorite thing about the job?
My favorite thing, I think that it's people. Both my mates, my colleagues, and customers, the relationship I am able to create. Because yes, sometimes they both make me nervous because I'm not Gandhi, but I truly love to serve them and to share laughs, memories, and a path with them. That's the best part of my job. Yeah. Okay.
That's not what I expected. I expected it would be the design. I thought, sketching out swords would be the best bit, but no. Okay. Yeah, I guess like with swords, teaching swordsmanship, the showing up in person and teaching in person, so everyone is in the room holding a sword and we're all in the room together. That is the best bit for me.
Because we are givers.
Social. Well, and it's a fundamental, like it's a social thing, and when somebody comes to you because they want a sword and you make them the sword and they get super happy about it, it's just a positive cycle all the way around. Huh.
Yeah.
Okay. So what is the best idea you haven't acted on yet?
This is
apart from all of my brilliant product ideas, apart from those.
This is the most difficult question of all. And even if I had a best idea, I couldn't tell because I'm very jealous of my ideas.
Interesting. See, I give all mine away because ideas. The hard part isn't having the idea. The hard part is the execution.
Yeah.
Right? Because most people can produce ideas left, right, and centre, but it is difficult to act on some ideas. It's difficult to take something from an idea in your head to actually make it a physical reality in the world. Yeah. That's hard.
Yeah.
So I don't ever worry about people stealing my ideas.
Mostly because when I have an idea, I tend to work towards it. My ideas are not fantasies. My ideas are willings,
Right. Okay. I understand the difference. So your ideas are not just fancies in your head. They are things you are likely to act on. So in which case, let me rephrase the question. What idea is next to be acted on?
I think that developing the business by also working on its processes is the next thing in line.
Okay.
Because my dream, our dream, is to bring Malleus to another level. We don't want to stay as a small craft business for all our lives.
Oh, okay.
We want to bring our craftsmanship and our love for swords and our skills to serve the community in a wider way.
Okay.
So I have lots of ideas about that, and right now I am working on new designs to be able to scale a little bit more the production in the future.
Wow. So it's going to be, I can go into my supermarket and buy a Malleus Martialis sword next year. I'll have a bunch of bananas,
No.
I'll have a packet of coffee, and I'll have a longsword. Thank you very much. Brilliant.
No. You will go in a wonderful palace full of diamonds and golden stairs, and there will be a man who will welcome you and say, "Oh, take a look to the wonderful Malleus swords."
Yeah, okay. More Louis Vuitton than Aldi.
Yeah,
Got it.
exactly.
Excellent.
You perfectly understand.
Well, good. I'm glad that you're aiming high.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, because I guess one of the issues at the moment is you have quite a long lead time.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like 4 or 5 months usually.
Yeah.
Between
Right now
I want a
it's
sword
around
and
6.
6 months, right? And I guess if your production was ramped up to the point where you could clear the backlog and actually get a stock in, so people could buy it and have it next week.
We already have something like that because our production is always divided into categories: the commissions for the customers and the in-stock products.
Okay, so you actually have. I'm just going onto your website right now.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna have a look at what you've got in stock.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, instead, while I'm indulging myself like this, what made you call it Malleus Martialis? What does it mean?
It means the hammer of Ares, of Marte.
Of Mars, yeah.
The god of war.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was, I really don't know where it comes from because I really didn't ask Rodolfo where the first idea came. I don't know why, but I never did it because it sounded cool and that's cool. But I think that it was because in the beginning you really wanted to learn how to hammer the metal, and it was really interested, and he was an historical fencer himself. So the two souls, the forge and the fencing together.
Okay. Yeah, so it's the hammer of Mars.
Yeah.
Okay. And while I was listening to you say that and I was fooling around on your in-stock thing, you actually have an Einhorn Messer in stock that you have subtitled Mr. Bad Guy. It's like it's like you're sort of you're trying to tell me something.
Because he's light but aggressive, so it's like it's like Freddie Mercury in his golden years.
Fantastic. Oh, that's a beast. Oh, yes. Okay. Right. Put your credit card down, Windsor.
But by the way, we always keep some stock available until it is finished, of course, because it's really important to us always to offer ready-made or ready-to-buy swords. Of course, we have to make the commissions. So for custom orders, we take some more time. For the usual swords, for example, side swords, maybe you can have it in 1 month and a half, because in the stock we always have, for example, something that we give to the customers when they contact us, and they reserved it, you know.
Okay.
So it's something that is working, but to be really, really quick and to go and cut the 6 months when we don't make a particular product frequently, then we need other methods, other processes for the future.
Yeah, tricky. Okay, so you're going to have to come back on the show in a year or so and tell us that you have cracked the problem, and now anyone can just go in and get whatever longsword they want, or side sword or whatever else. Okay. All right. So my last question is: someone gives you €1 million or similar sum of imaginary money to spend improving historical martial arts worldwide. How would you spend it?
I think that $1 million is maybe more than I need.
Really? Most people say it's not enough. Okay, so what would you do with it?
I will try to answer. I would heavily develop the firm and its processes quicker.
No. You can't just spend it on you or your company. And if I had the money, I'm not allowed to spend it on copies of Capoferro from 1610 and swords from Malleus Martialis or whatever else. You got to spend it.
But I serve the community, and you
True.
too, with your Capoferro.
And so do I. But
exactly.
honestly, I think the community could maybe, I could take that money and use it to do what I already do a bit better.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
But it's not going to make a gigantic difference in the same way that, for example, one suggestion has been a sort of a fund so that groups that are starting up can afford a set of equipment, swords and masks and whatnot, to help them get started.
I think
that would make a bigger difference.
I think that I would organize and fund more events and exhibitions about swords and historical fencing, where we can meet, promote, learn this art. Also training children to this art.
Oh yeah.
So surely. I would invest heavily in events and exhibitions. This would be my target goal.
Okay, so maybe funding some events that will get people started, or for people who are already practicing, and if the event is funded, then maybe there'll be some free places open, possibly even some travel grants to get people coming. Yeah,
why not?
Okay, why not? And of course, all of these events, there would be a sponsored by Malleus Martialis, and here's an enormous table of swords that you can buy while you're here.
Of course.
Yeah. Of course, naturally.
Anyway, there's something more that I would do, and this is about it's not about the whole community, but it's about the ones who would be willing to do it. I really would like to invest a great part of this money in education. Education has always been a big part of my life. Even when I sang, I wanted to teach singing. And when I started to make reenactment, in the end, I ended up in making my own association and teaching.
We didn't talk about that at all. Okay, so you started your own historical fencing club.
No, it's not about historical fencing club. It's reenactment. I really separate the two completely.
Yeah, me too.
And for example, in my I led this association until last year, when I said this is the time I leave my friends.
So
like Gandalf.
Yeah. So what's the association?
Its name is Gonfalone del Drago, and it's an association in Florence who reenacts the end of the 14th century. And we really wanted to, when we started, we really wanted to make things right with the research, with the proper reconstruction of tools and clothes and so on. Living history,
Okay, so it's a full-on living history, physical culture, material culture.
Exactly.
Reenactment group. Gonfalone del Drago. So the banner of the dragon.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's a quarter in Florence, which is divided in 4 parts. Every quarter in Florence is divided in 4 parts, and one of the quarters of Santo Spirito Quarter is Gonfalone del Drago.
Oh, right. Okay, so you named it after that. Okay,
yeah.
Fair enough. Okay, and I assume that most of these people are reenacting using Malleus swords, right?
Yes, but not only. Also, for example, Todd.
No? Okay.
also.
Oh yeah, Todd's cutlers. He makes some very nice stuff.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay.
I really admire
so
him.
You were running this club. Yeah, he's very good. So you were running this club for
7 years.
10 years.
And
7 years. Okay.
I did it because I liked to share and to study. And about the $1 million, to come back to the origin of this.
Yeah.
I really would like to invest those money in education about fencing, swords, and all our heritage, because we are a niche. I don't want to be a mass argument, but people should know better about their past and about their history by touching with their own hands.
Yeah, I can. So when you've sorted out the Malleus sort of processes and everything, and it has expanded into this gigantic sword empire, you will have a spare €1 million that you can spend on this project. Brilliant.
Yeah. And surely, some of this money spent in education would go for helping children to also children that are not living in a right way in a difficult situation to rise from their difficulties through fencing too. It would be amazing.
Yeah.
It would be really amazing. Because
I mean,
think
there's so many so many kids like came out of bad situations through football or boxing or
exactly.
Or music even. And why not through historical fencing as well?
Exactly. There are two less young people who started to approach historical fencing without being a case. Okay, they find historical fencing, but they don't know it exists many times.
Yeah. And if more people knew we existed, then that would definitely be better. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Eleanora. It's been lovely catching up with you.
For me too. It was amazing to meet you and to share a chat together.
Thanks for listening. You can find the episode show notes at swordschool.com/podcast, where you will find transcriptions, photos, videos, and links for this episode. You can find a direct link to the show notes for this episode in the description. Join us next week for another cracking conversation. See you then.